Welcome into another emergency PFF NFL Daily. I messed up the intro because crazy stuff's happening, Sam. Davante Adams traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders, initially called for prime draft picks, but it's a first and a second round draft pick. Davante Adams not only traded to the Raiders, but also signs a 5-year deal worth over $28 million per season. So resetting the receiver market. And what is going on here? Completely unexpected. Can't believe Aaron Rodgers signed with the Packers and reportedly knew this was going down.
Yeah, and a deal that apparently the Packers were willing to match, but the relationship had been too badly damaged, and Davante Adams just wanted out. So he's gone out of there, no Green Bay anymore, gone to the Raiders, where he was reunites with Derek Carr, right? Their former college teammates. Derek Carr to Davante Adams of Fresno State was a hell of a connection back in the day. We get to see them reunited back in the AFC West, which continues the insanity of the arms race that's going on this offseason. And the Raiders are showing that they're there to compete. They're not giving up. They're not just there to take part in this division. They are seriously trying to get a run at it as well, along with the Chiefs, along with the Broncos, along with the Chargers. Wow, that division is going to be fun. And then for Green Bay, God, it's tough to see a way that doesn't make them worse in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got to put some perspective to this, right? Because it's free agency time, and I've been joking, like every guard move, right? Every time a guard signs, we're like, oh, look at that. You know, they're players again, whoever signs the guard. I mean, every move that we make and we act like it's going to move the needle a ton. The reality is most non-QB moves don't move the needle, other than true wide receiver one. I mean, Davante Adams is essentially the 12th highest paid quarterback in the league right now. And look, you and I, we've done podcasts where it's like, okay, after the elite quarterbacks, where would you take the first head coach, or where would you take the first receiver? And there probably is a cutoff around 10 or 12 where the true receiver that draws coverage, wins against every type of coverage, wins at every level. It probably is of that value when you have an upper mid-tier quarterback with like a Derek Carr. Like, this should really move the needle for the Raiders. And obviously it takes a lot away from the Packers, but on their end, they at least get the opportunity to replace Adams. So of all the moves that we've been talking about this week, other than QBs, this is the biggest one as far as adding to the Raiders. And at the moment, like you said, subtracting from the Packers.
It is so huge for the Raiders. Like, Davante Adams is arguably the best wide receiver in the game right now, and has been for a couple of years. He wins at all levels. He's the best route runner in the game. He has a complete skill set, and the Raiders didn't have that. If you look last year, what happened to that offense, when Henry Ruggs was there, Derek Carr was leading the NFL in big-time throws. Only Tom Brady and Kyler Murray had a higher PFF passing grade. He had a very low turnover-worthy play rate. He was basically playing at an all-pro level. And then Henry Ruggs gets kicked off the team. They were never able to replace what Ruggs brought to that offense. Davante Adams brings that back and a bunch of other stuff, right? And the rest of the skill set that he comes along with. And they've got Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow emerged as a big part. Like, that offense is catapulted in the right direction. And now they can focus their energies on making sure that offensive line is good. For Green Bay, the concern is this leaves them in the situation that the Vikings were in when they traded away Stephon Diggs. And I hate that as a plan, where you trade away a superstar and you have to replace him with the draft pick that you just got by trading him away, right? The Vikings ended up nailing it. They traded away Stephon Diggs. They flipped him for Justin Jefferson. It feels like that's a 1 in 100 shot, right? The chances of you hitting on that is so small, and they absolutely nailed it. So that ended up being win-win for everybody. Now the Packers have to repeat that trick. They have to go into the draft. They're not picking high, and they have to get a first-round wide receiver who can do what Davante Adams did. Like, it's possible. Maybe Chris Olave or, Garrett Wilson is a Davante Adams clone, and they come in and they're able to replicate exactly what he left. I wouldn't bank on it, though.
Yeah, I mean, this would be that was all like the drama a couple years ago. Like, Aaron Rodgers never throws to first round players, right? Except for Mercedes Lewis. Is this the year that they do it? So let's go to the Raiders' perspective first. Okay, we'll circle back to the Packers. From the Raiders' perspective, yes, we were thinking, okay, should they throw things away? Should they trade Derek Carr and think to the future? No, they're going to compete. They do have Davante Adams now. And again, I want to reiterate the value of what that guy brings to the table. He's the best route runner in the NFL, gets open better than anybody else in the NFL. And what we saw in the playoff game, the NBA calls it gravity. What do the best players have? Gravity from defenders. That's what a wide receiver one brings to the table, and that opens up opportunities for other players. The Packers were unable to capitalize on everybody paying attention to Davante Adams in that divisional game against the 49ers. The Raiders now have that, right? And that allows Darren Waller to work free, right? I mean, it allows other playmakers room to roam. And the Raiders, I think they're going to have the firepower. If they can tidy up the offensive line a little bit, they'll have the firepower to keep up with the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs, because Carr's really good and Davante Adams is awesome. And you put those together, and that's going to add a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, they have the secondary and the tertiary threats in that offense that Green Bay was never able to find, right? We've been talking for years that the Packers offense is great with Rodgers to Davante Adams, but outside of that, there isn't anything. Like when you figure out a way of slowing down Adams, Alan Lazard and Robert Tonyan, those guys are not making the plays that they need. Darren Waller will, and Hunter Renfrow showed last year that he might be able to as well. So they've got those players. It should absolutely make the Raiders legit if they can fix that offensive line.
Plus, you have fourth quarter and overtime Bryan Edwards, so it's all going to be incredible for the Raiders. Here's the other part about the report, Sam. Not only did Aaron Rodgers know this was going down, but reportedly the Packers were going to match this deal. And Davante, right? So he chose Derek Carr and this long-term deal, his college buddy going to Vegas. He chose all of that over Aaron Rodgers, maybe the uncertainty in Green Bay, whatever it is, but he chose the Raiders over the Packers here.
Right. And look, this is post-trade spin, possibly, right? I think that report specifically came from Rob Demovsky, who's a Packers beat reporter.
Maybe I'm buying it.
Right. Presumably that's some Packers source, like desperately trying to get their side of the story out. But if you take it on its face value, you can contrast that with what's happening in Tampa Bay, right? Tom Brady unretires, and all of a sudden half the team immediately changes their destination, their travel plans, and they're back in the building and they're trying to go for another Super Bowl. According to this, the Packers are willing to match that report or match that deal. Rodgers is coming back, and Adams was still like, nah, I'm out of here. Doesn't reflect tremendously well on Rodgers.
Now, I'm knowing what we know about Rodgers. Look, when we were talking about the Broncos thing, I was of the mind that Rodgers wasn't looking for like the path of least resistance, saying, I wouldn't go to Denver because Green Bay's easier. I think Rodgers is a competitor, and that isn't necessarily a factor. However, I thought when he was going back to Green Bay, he would at least, for all the talk of you're not giving me support, I thought he'd at least want the dude that he's breaking records with.
Yes.
And, they're unstoppable in the red zone and all that stuff. So what is Rodgers thinking in this whole thing? Hey, I got my money. That's all I cared about. I'm going to do it I'm going to trust them in the draft. Like, what's Rodgers thinking here to, be okay with this?
I can't imagine that he is. Like, I can't see a way that Rodgers is cool with this other than it's simply they weren't able to get it done, right? That's the only way it makes any sense is if Adams simply was not going to reverse course and was not going to come back to Green Bay, whatever happened. I can't imagine there's any scenario whereby they convinced Aaron Rodgers that this is actually in the best interest of you and the team in the next couple of years. Because it just isn't. There's just no way. Like Rodgers or Adams, okay, he's getting on in years, right? He's 29? He's not young. So at some point he might start to decline, but there's no sign of that happening anytime soon. And at that point, you still need to replace his production. So it's a real tough sell to convince the guy that you just signed for this new, the next couple of years to be like, oh, we're better now that we traded away our best receiver. It's just,
all right.
It's not plausible.
I'm going to the PFF mock draft simulator right now. I'm going there right now, pff.com. By the way, you can get this thing fully unlocked, 30% off using free agency 30, promo code free agency 30 right now, 30% off, fully unlocked mock draft simulator. The Packers are now picking at 22 and 28. At 22, in this current iteration, Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State. Olave is the guy. I mean, I could picture this world where Olave becomes Rodgers' top guy next year, along with Alan Lazard, and I don't know, take a flyer on Julio Jones? Would they do that? I mean, is that what are the Packers going to do now to replace Davante Adams? First, I think Olave from Ohio State would be a great start.
I mean, apparently Tom Brady is recruiting Julio Jones. So if you're already in a recruitment race with Tom Brady, you're already losing,
Yeah,
apparently.
you know how that
So
one's going to go.
I'm not sure that's going to work. But yeah, they absolutely need to use the first pick they have on a wide receiver. They put themselves in that position now. So this is the reality of where Green Bay is, that the thing they haven't wanted to do for years, they're going to have to do now and hope it works out. The alternative, by the way, we saw how well just making Aaron Rodgers mad worked last time. Maybe now it's time for another first-round quarterback.
Kenny Pickett, come on down to Green Bay. You thought Jordan Love was bad. How about the smallest hands we've seen since Vic coming to Green Bay in that weather? That would really get him going.
I'm just saying, maybe the only way that you can rescue this is to have super mad Rodgers.
So, bottom line here, I think the Raiders can actually compete in the AFC West more than they could the other day. And for the Packers, I want to see what they do with the moves, right? So they're $19 million that was on the books for this year's franchise tag for Davante Adams is now freed up. And then they have the first and second round pick, 22 overall, as we mentioned. Going to have to do some work there to get that roster just up to par to compete in the NFC. That's your emergency PFF NFL Daily.